Greetings, Internet faithful. I'm some guy named Rob from On Your Marks Wrestling, and yes, finally, Rob recaps NXT for April 11th, 2018. We open up with a video package showing highlights from Takeover, and this was not good. This was great. I love the use of alternate camera angles. I love how crisp and fast-flowing it is to recap an entire 3-hour pay-per-view in 3 minutes flat. The main WWE shows should take notice. This is taking your already excellent video recap and video package skills and just taking them to the next level. The alternate camera angles and later on in future video packages throughout the show that use even camera angles that look like they were shot from the crowd, even possibly on, made to look like they were shot on people's cell phones or cameras. It was fantastic. It really gave a different feel, a different vibe than the standard video replay type of things that you get from the WWE. And of course, after the show opens, we get to our first match of the night, which is Carrie versus Lacey Evans. This is the first time I've ever seen Lacey Evans, because obviously this is only the second time I've ever seen NXT, having just subscribed to the WWE Network. Lacey Evans looks a lot like Captain America meets Major Guns from WCW. Which I thought was an interesting look. The match itself is fairly standard. It's your big man, little man, or big woman, little woman type of match. It's size and strength versus speed and agility. Evans did seem a little bit out of her element, like she wasn't really used to faster paced matches against smaller, much more agile opponents. Though she did have a really nice slingshot from the outside apron into an elbow drop into the ring on Sane. Evans, of course, will use her size and strength advantage to dominate most of the match. Sane comes back in the end with a spinning back fist, which leads to an insane elbow for the win. The match itself, again, it was nothing amazingly special. It was kind of formulaic for the big man, little man type of match. It was entertaining in its own right. I thought that maybe if Lacey Evans was a little crisper in some of her moves, one of her Cobra clutches looked especially sloppy, but I don't know. I don't know how long she's been with NXT. These are things that I'm still kind of learning along the way, so if I'm being a little too harsh, things will even out as I get more used to the product. We get back into Package Mania from Takeover. We take a look at the ladder match as well as the tag team match, the first being, of course, for the first ever winner of the North American Championship, which is won by Adam Cole, baby. And the second match, of course, for not only the NXT tag team titles, but also to be declared the winner of the Dusty Rhodes Classic. We then cut to a backstage segment with the winners of the tag team title match as well as the Dusty Rhodes Classic, the Undisputed Era, and wow, this looked bad. This whole segment looked like it was shot on someone's cell phone, but before they started shooting, someone accidentally smudged up half the lens with a thumbprint. The lighting was terrible. It was just really brutal overall to take a look at, and especially coming out of those really great montage packages that the WWE does so well and seems to do much better with NXT, showing off all those alternate camera angles and slightly different color grading on some of the shots. It was just very jarring, and wow, it took me off guard. Most of the rest of the show is going to be very heavy on more takeover packages and debuts on Monday Night Raw. Next up is the debut of the Authors of Pain on Raw, as well as their sort of breakup with Paul Ellering. And then because there was also the debut of Ember Moon on Monday Night Raw, we also have the big highlight package from her match with Shayna Baszler on NXT Takeover, on the Takeover pay-per-view. So it was basically a lot of Here's why you're not going to see these people on NXT anymore. And I actually looked it up after the show was done. I realized that this episode was actually taped prior to NXT Takeover, which is why you couldn't have anybody on the show, because it would give away the results of the pay-per-view matches. So it felt a lot like when you go out and buy a greatest hits album from one of your favorite bands, and they have all of the greatest hits, all the ones that you remember hearing on the radio, and then for contractual obligations, they put one or two brand new singles on there. That's kind of what this show felt like overall, because much of this show is dominated, basically the middle third, or maybe even middle two-thirds, are dominated by these highlight packages, showing off all of the matches that happened at TakeOver. Granted, these matches were fantastic, so I'm not really complaining, and of course the treatment that they give it is amazing, but I'm wondering if maybe people who are maybe longer timed NXT fans would be kind of like, well, yeah, I kind of saw the pay-per-view, thanks for reminding me what happened like 3 days ago, can we get to a match please, might not find it as enjoyable. Final match of the night shows Heavy Machinery versus Riddick Moss and Tino Sabatelli. Otis Dozovic from Heavy Machinery kind of looks like if you were to take Rhino to his logical conclusion. Wow, he is as wide as he is tall, and it's kind of funny to watch him bounce around the ring. Lee and I were kind of chatting a little bit while watching NXT, and he kind of let me know they're more of an old school type of tag team, so should be interesting to have a look at them. Very 1980s type of style and kind of aesthetic to them, so I look forward to seeing what they've got in future matches. This match here ends in a no contest when War Raider, or War Raiders, formerly War Machine, run in and just basically beat the crap out of both teams with absolute ease. It's not even close. And we end the show with the War Raiders, formerly War Machine, sort of standing tall as we go off the air. The segment itself was, I guess, okay. It did what it needed to do, that is to say, announce the debut of War Raiders to the NXT roster. You were kind of limited in what you could do creatively because you knew that the Authors of Pain on Monday Night Raw would be answering an open challenge. So you couldn't do the open challenge type of thing because it would look highly derivative. You have, one really big dominant team going to Monday Night Raw to answer an open challenge to be very big and dominant and kind of squash competition on Monday Night Raw. And then on Wednesday on NXT, you see kind of a replacement big dominant team kind of do the same thing. You couldn't get away with that. So I guess from a creative standpoint, they did what they could with what they had. Anyway, I'm looking forward to next week's NXT so I can see maybe a little bit more action that'll involve people that were at the pay-per-view, that wrestled at the pay-per-view, and of course see where the new storylines are going to go now that Johnny Gargano has been reinstated to NXT. Will Andrade Cien Almas, will he still be there as of next week? Because there are rumors he will be moving up to the main roster. And of course we're going to need a new challenger for the Women's Championship, as Ember Moon will not be challenging to regain her women's title now that she's on the main roster on Monday Night Raw. And with that, another week of WWE programming is in the books, and we'll see you next Monday for Monday Night Raw. Take it easy.